Hello, can you hear me? Is my audio actually working? Hey, it's a New Year miracle. Hey, Doug. Hey, Jack. Hey, Professor. Hope you're all okay. All's good. Thank you very much. Let us see if we can make this all work. It'll be a miracle. Hello. Hello, hello. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you for joining us. A couple of minutes past. And just messing around. I'm going to make myself bigger for the moment so you get the luxury of seeing a big me. Normal. Hey, there we go. There we go. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you all had a magnificent holiday and new year. To those of you in chat and um, to those of you watching on catch up. I pondered over the holidays what is the best way forward for 2023, and I constantly get a lot of questions about what's going on this week, and the text format of writing in Discord works to a point, um, but not everybody reads it, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed with posts and information and stuff. So I kind of figured doing a weekly catch up, or rather a looking forward to the week rather than a catch up. Um, so this is a prologue, looking forward. Hope everybody likes my beard, by the way. I'm doing this at the moment. You never know. By the end of 2023, I might be a hipster. Can't see it myself, but we never know, do we? That's what's more scary than a giant Andy, a hipster giant Andy. Um, so I kind of thought it'll be A, fun, B, it'll help me focus my mind on what I'm actually doing for the week or for the month or whatever, and having a week looking forward um, kind of doesn't set tasks and the like too challenging because I kind of know what's going to happen, and um, it should be small steps and easily sort of achievable as the events and games are scheduled. If you know what I mean, feel free to talk in chat. Feel free to ask me questions as well. Um, this is the idea. Really, is daytime every Monday. I'm going to do one of these. It could range anything from sort of 5 minutes to half an hour, or whatever, just as a looking forward to solidly the week ahead, but also potential projects that are lurking. So, without further ado, this week ahead, first we will draw our attention, I guess, to the games that we've got coming forward. Again, this is not just for you in chat, but Anybody who's watching this on catch up or on YouTube, this is for the very first week of January, sort of week one, which goes from Monday, which is today, the 2nd, through to Sunday, the 8th of January. If you're watching this on catch up and you are in the future, then these games won't be running anymore. Fact, sorry, you missed out. But there will be other games on, undoubtedly. So watch video for the week that you are in if you are interested in joining any games. I'm just babbling. Okay, so tomorrow night. Oh, thanks, Rich. I hope you had a magnificent holiday and New Year. Thanks for the sub. 30 months, you and me. Wow, it's amazing, really. Really appreciate it. Games this week. Tomorrow night, Tuesday the 3rd, we will be doing another mythical game. High fantasy. It does actually have spaces on. So feel free to sign up if you fancy some very high fantasy shenanigans. My homebrew world, Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. Can't really say much more than that. It is a one shot. Professor's asking what format. That really helps me. Thank you for that. No, it does help me because I sometimes forget I'm talking to people that are not familiar with some of the games that I'm running. The check's already in the post. But you forget, you get so involved in the echo chamber that you're in that some people that are watching are not familiar with things. So it does certainly help to sort of get questions. So mythical is what I've based on what called a West Marches style of game. They are one shots, you only gain experience and the loot from the games that you play in. And it's a mixed level of characters sorted by tiers. So normally 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, and 16 to 20th. And you need to level your character up through that progression to play in the higher tier games. But being one shots, it means that people at the start of the week there tends to be spaces open and you can jump in and out of them. So if you feel like, oh, I fancy playing some D&D, it's the perfect type of game for you, provided it's the right tier that we're playing. At the moment we're only doing tier 1s, but we're very close to doing some tier 2 games now as well. They are also one shots that I previously mentioned, and I'll come on to one shots in a little while because I think one shots are going to feature relatively heavily in 2023 for certainly me, or Twisted Narrative as a whole. I've been working on one shots for a while now, and I kind of find them satisfying in terms of the certainly challenging 3 hours to get the entire sort of story in. Downside is I can feel a little bit restricted with role playing due to the fact that you do need to go from sort of encounter to encounter to encounter, so there is that start, middle and end to it. But it certainly helped me focus on making sure a 3-hour session has a degree of content, of action, of exploration, of social, and I think it as a designer of scenarios, playing around with the one shot concepts last year really sort of helped me do that. So that's mythical, really. This one is a level 1 to 5 game, completely new, never ran it before, so that should be quite interesting. And if you want to play, that will be on at 7 o'clock till 10 o'clock tomorrow night. Then we come to on Wednesday night, Fortunes Untold, which has sold out. This is a campaign and is involving the gathering together of 4 great items of power artifacts that date back to a time known as the Wish War, revolving around elemental forces, genies, when they were at the height of their power, and they clashed together and had these wishes. This is set in the far future, and the protagonists, the characters, are adventuring together to uncover the 4 great artifacts that are being used. They've got one of them. They are proceeding now to get the next one. It's really fun, having a blast with it. One of the newer games that I'm running. Then on Thursday we come to Icebreakers, set in the wonderful world of Exandria, the world of Critical Role. One of the sort of longer lived campaigns that we've been running at the moment. The characters are high powered, and probably tier 3 now, but substantially OP. They've got some magnificent items of power, some vestiges of divergence, and it's a blast. Some great role playing going on, and this campaign dates back to pre-COVID times when we actually met face to face. Friday sees Collateral Damage again sold out, and this is a weekly game, which is unusual for me. I only run a couple of weekly games, and every Friday night, Collateral Damage, great fun, great cast of players. Certainly don't take it too seriously, and just a couple of nights ago, they hit 18th level. So you can imagine how long they've been playing it on a weekly basis. We did a couple of one shots, Christmassy one followed by a New Year type one, and that was great fun. We've got that on Friday night. Yeah, sorry, I mean I'm kind of saying, oh yes, and these are wonderful campaigns, but they're sold out. That is unfortunately the way that it is, but it's giving you an idea of how many games are run and the types of games that are run, and certainly I'm going to come on to maybe what I'm doing next week as well in a minute. Then we've got on Saturday, we've got 4 games on Saturday. We've got Curse of Strahd, the classic from the books. They are getting close to the end game now, which is very exciting. They've gathered together most of the things that they need. I don't really want to kind of do spoilers, especially not with people who may play certainly a published campaign. Yeah, thanks, Professor and Jack, saying that you kind of like to hear. It's an interesting thing, because what a lot of people don't actually realize is because many of you wonderful players of mine playing multiple games, content is very rarely repeated, because all it takes is one player to be in another campaign, and you can't like take, oh yeah, there's some really cool Eberron content that I've done there, and I'll kind of put that into the Icebreakers, or vice versa. So quite often there's campaigns going on that there's completely unique content, especially in my homebrew stuff, and it certainly keeps my head and my mind working. It also keeps the games fresh for me as well, so I certainly don't begrudge that. I think if I was running 10 Curse of Strahd games, it would become a little bit grindy for me, and trying to have the enthusiasm, the passion, and the energy to make the games go would be more difficult than doing fresh new stuff all of the time. Um, um, So I'm glad you're enjoying listening to it. So yeah, Saturday's a busy day. 4 games. Curse of Strahd, firstly, classic. I do love this game, this campaign. It plays out many times, um, and they're in the end game. Um, but the problem with Curse of Strahd for the players is it's scary to take that step of, well, we're as ready as we are ever going to get. Let's confront him now. Uh, is quite scary for the characters, and maybe for the players as well. So there's always that resistance of, you sure there's no more preparation we can do, nothing else that we can eke out in Barovia before we meet Strahd himself, especially as Strahd kind of features from the very start of the game. As I say, can't really do many more spoilers there because it's a campaign book, and I don't overly want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't played it. But great fun, but coming to an end, which means we will be starting a new campaign on Saturday mornings at some point, whether it's mid 2023 or whether it's the end of 2023. Difficult to say because, again, player agency. Then we come to another classic, completely different feel to Curse of Strahd, but I like it for a number of reasons. Tomb of Annihilation. This follows Curse of Strahd on Saturday, so Saturday afternoon. Um, Again, they are getting close now. Still a little bit to do, but they are in the end game. They are in the tomb. Again, I don't really want to do any spoilers. They are getting closer and closer. So, a few months, quite possibly, new campaign will be starting there as well. Obviously, I need to be true and loyal to the players that have supported these games for the last kind of couple of years, and they certainly do get um, first dibs on the next game that starts, next campaign. But um, it does open it up for some other players as well. Then early evening we have the Diplomates. This is another critical role game set in Exandria. Again, great fun, great set of players, very role play orientated. The one thing that I've really sort of noticed with the critical role games I run is, obviously, players that play in it tend to be attracted to the game because of critical role. So tend to play in a more sort of role play oriented style. That's not saying that other games don't have very strong role play in as well, um, but it is very noticeable that the crit role games that I run are very role play orientated. I don't mean the characters are copied from Critical Role, um, but people throw their their heart and soul into their characters, and it's a joy to watch and a joy to run. Diplomates is very interesting. There's been a huge amount of shipping between certain characters and stuff, and always a pleasure to run that. And then we go full on horror for for Saturday night, for we are doing Call of Cthulhu, Masks of Nyarlathotep, if that's how you pronounce it correctly. This is an epic Call of Cthulhu campaign, um, and it's one of my loves. I love my D&D. Obviously, I'll come on to that because I do feel in 2023 I want to explore some other games as well. But I also love my Call of Cthulhu, and I mean, this is I'll say it's a massive campaign. Um, Not in the way that D&D is a campaign. Characters will no doubt go insane. Characters will no doubt die, and they'll be replaced by other sort of characters and stuff. But it has a very huge narrative. We've been playing for a good number of months now, and we're still in the prologue. the thing I like to do with Call of Cthulhu is, because things can go bad very, very fast. Um, Characters can go insane, characters can die. I like to do a lot of world building and character building first. So there's this very slow sort of simmer of characters getting to know each other, players getting invested with their characters and with other players' characters, and within the world. And then when things start to go bad, the horror suddenly hits. So having a slow burn is quite good fun. The characters have certainly bonded now, um, and I love it. It's great. Hopefully, more Call of Cthulhu this year, as well as um, just the Saturday night single campaign that we've got going at the moment. So that's a nice full 12 hours of actual role playing, together with pre-prep Saturday morning and a kind of wind down Saturday night. So my Saturdays are quite busy, easily 14-15 hours. But we don't hold up on Sundays. So Sundays normally we've got 4 games, but because it's the start of the year, we've only got 3 games. Um, it's a regular Saturday, Jack. If you carry on watching these week on week, you'll see that yeah, it's full on. Um, but Sunday I get a little bit of a lie-in, due to the fact that, because it's the start of the year, we haven't really started the early Sunday, the 10 to 1 slot this week. So we don't start till Sunday at 1 o'clock, which is Mythical again, another Mythical one shot. This will be a new session. Very excited about it. For those of you who have just joined us, or whatever, it's High Fantasy 5th edition D&D one shot. And we we are very much looking forward to this one again, due to the fact that this one could potentially go to being one of the first tier 2 ones. So we'll see what is going on. Hey, Brokefang, thanks for joining us. Hello, Michael. I really appreciate you joining us. We're just talking about the games of this coming week. So for Mythical, I'll design and run something completely separate, different to the Mythical game on Tuesday. So it's very easy to play in both games, and because they're one shots, boom boom, you can easily sort of link your characters to sort of both of them. Then rolling into that, another game that I'm very much enjoying, it is my Eberron game, Shadow of Sharn. Again, very role play orientated. I kind of envisioned this when it first came out as kind of a fantasy, the boys. We've got our party of protagonists, our characters that are facing against some very bad high level characters that are adored by the populace. Cheers, Mr. Brooks. Your trigger finger is amazing there, but you appear like a superhero out of Shadows over Sharn. So yeah, so it's great, and it's been a really interesting sort of ride. I mean, there's plenty to do, as I'm not spoiling anything here, Professor, but you have uncovered that not all of these heroes for hire, as it were, are bad, and there are levels and layers and shades of grey and stuff. So yeah, it's really interesting to see where we're going with that. Some brilliant different characters. Eberron is a great world setting, and this brings me on to something else as well. It would be very easy to go, you know what, I love a certain style of play. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. You are indeed always here. I really appreciate you jumping in this time on a bank holiday. Um, it would be very easy for me to go, I kind of like my dark steampunk fantasy, so all the games that I run will have that. So I have to make a very concerted effort that Curse of Strahd feels like Curse of Strahd, the Eberron feels like Eberron, and Exandria feels like Exandria. And I love that because, again, there's a degree of challenge, but sometimes I have to fight against this will be really cool, but is it appropriate for that setting? Um, and that is definitely a challenge, especially if I've run a previous sort of game, maybe on the same day, and an encounter's gone particularly well, and everybody's gone, wow, that was amazing, we really had great fun. For me to go, oh, I'm tempted to do that again, and it's like, no, that just does not fit with this setting. So you just have to rein it in and find joy within the confines of what you have. And confines, I think, are sometimes good. It's nice to have a rich setting with a distinctive feel. I don't think it limits you. I think it's the spice, it's the flavour of the game itself. And without that, we would all just be eating, you know, the same sort of beige, you know. Um, so I do like different settings giving different flavourings. So that's it for the games this week. The only games really that no, it's not. I'm lying because that's only two games on Sunday. The third game on Sunday is my Sunday evening group, and we're doing something very special this year. Maybe starting this week, we might either finish off the Alien game we've been running, or we might be doing something very special, which will be play testing my own game, or our own game, Twisted Narrative Tabletop. Ooh, I'm excited for it. It's not something that I ever felt I needed or wanted to do is write a tabletop game. But the more I run stuff, the more I realise I'm using a lot of my homebrew rules or tweaking rules um, or the like. And I, there's never a game that is perfect. There's always things that you think, oh, if we change that a little bit, it would work better for this table. Um, and I kind of do it without a second thought now. If I know my table wants more role playing than combat, I dim down the combat and stuff. So it occurred to me, why don't I design a game that I'm going to have fun sort of running, and that might be fun um, for the players to play as well. And the more I thought about it, is the kind of games I like to run are games more or less without rules. Certainly we'll let you know, Rich. We'll certainly let you know. So yeah, we'll be doing this. It's in its very early stages, but don't get super excited. It's not a massive Dungeons and Dragons rule book. It's not a massive sort of Pathfinder. There's nothing wrong with lots and lots and lots of rules. The idea of this is um, to cut out all of the fluff from mechanics, and I've kind of separated, and there are some other people that will heavily disagree with me, But I think there's a difference between Mannix and setting, basically. Um, it's okay, Rich. There will be plenty of opportunity to test it out. And this is why we're doing these chats, these weekly chats now, because I will at some point going, well, we're going to be play testing this. And the play testing will not really be about the mechanics. It'll be more about the settings. And coming on to the one shots again, what I've discovered is it's quite nice to have quite a steady narrative, not necessarily me as a storyteller controlling it, but distinct. This is an encounter. Um, this is what you kind of need to achieve out of this encounter. How you're going to do it, and there seems to be it kind of prompts role playing and action and actions from the players. So the way that it works is a very light system that more or less will fit to any genre, and then a heavy setting with as much detail as you want. And the idea really is you know what you want to do, cyberpunk, yes, okay. You want to do fancy, yes, okay. But even focusing down, oh, you're a fan of a Game of Thrones, yeah, go for it. You don't need to have me tell you the background for a Game of Thrones because you're a fan, you know all the books. Here's a guide to creating a scenario for that setting. Um, Hopefully that sort of makes sense. And we'll be play testing it heavily this year and seeing a whether the mechanics work for it, whether it does what it's desired to do. And then the real work will be not upon the rules or the mechanics, but um, the actual settings that we will promote to come out. And the concept is that a scenario will have a number of scenes being encounters, and the players will be thrown into those linked scenes, guiding them towards an end goal, as usual. And they will use their skills, their abilities to either succeed or fail. Um, it will be based off quite a few games, just a D6 system where you roll a certain number of D6s, looking to hit a target number on the dice. So it's not you don't add the dice up. If a task is very difficult, you might need to roll a 6 from the dice that you roll. And if you're better at combat, for instance, you might have 6 dice or 5 dice that you roll, and you roll those. And if you get a 6 on one of those dice, you would succeed in that. But there is the concept is that the players have a communal hope pool where um, where they can spend those points to either re-roll dice, or they can purchase twisted narratives and change what is happening in the scene, bend it to their will. Whereas the storyteller will have a desperation pool, and they can use those points to again twist the narrative against them. If the players are successful in scenes, they generate more hope. If they fail, they give desperation to the GM to allow the GM to make their job even more difficult in the next scene. If they end the scene without any hope, they're hopeless and the scenario comes to an end. But you can manipulate the hope pool. So, as I was saying to someone earlier today, if it's a horror scenario, hope would start quite low and just steadily get worse. Whereas if it is a feel good sort of wholesome game, hope can be really high. It's not designed for the GM to um, um, compete against the players. It's designed to be cooperative, and the desperation dice, or rather pool, is designed to make it interesting for the players, to allow the narrative to push in a certain other direction. Anyway, that is what hopefully I'll be doing Sunday night, testing that out for the very first time, or we might just be ending our Aliens game. Um, yeah, so I mean, that is a busy week, but that is a busy week of the games that I'm running. Also, I'm sorting out two mythical games this week, which is the two mythical ones. I'm also working on a couple of the games that will be coming through next week and the week after. Two of those are, well, three of those are sort of newish games, or newish, because next week we will be doing Tales from the Smoke. I know a few people have already asked me about these. Similar to Mythical, it's going to be a West Marches style of game that people can jump in and out of, have characters for, set in my homebrew city of the Smoke. A number of little tweaks and changes. Um, so I'll be doing quite a lot of writing for that. That's very exciting. I'm really pleased. For those of you who kind of watched and was involved in um, the Untold Chronicles sort of games that we did, the Smoke is obviously the big urban sprawl that is in that world. So there is eventually scope to move beyond the scope and move to the dredges, or Dust, or Archipelago, one of these other sort of locations too. Um, and then the two games that I've really not run very often before that are coming the week after and the week after that, I'm very, very excited about Feng Shui, um, and Mork Borg. Feng Shui, for those of you not familiar, is kind of a Hong Kong action movie style of game. It's larger than life, but it's not just modern day or futuristic. Um, it's got, I think, Big Trouble in Little China. It's always the one that I always um, um, one of the sort of genres of movie that I always think about. It is larger than life. It is John Wick. It is um, all of those, as I say, Hong Kong action movies. Um, yeah, I mean potentially some Dust. All of these characters. Um, there was a lot of really strong stuff that we was doing Broken Fang, and hopefully it will start sort of coming back. Absolutely. Yeah, our Feng Shui game was very, very cool, and I'm looking forward. And I'm looking forward to it because, again, these are going to be one shots, so we have to tell that story in those 3 hours. Um, it is larger than life, two fist action. I think the scenario is called the Assassin in White for the one that we've got planned in a few weeks' time. In the process of just putting that together at the moment. And Mort Borg is, I mean, it's the punk rock of fantasy games. It really is going to be interesting, and I'm going to. It's been modded a lot from the original. You can look it up. It's by from Free League, amazing company. Um, they didn't do the original, but I think they are promoting it through their website at the moment. I recommend people go and take a look at Mort Borg. Um, but yeah, I'm going to set it in the world, or a similar world to Elden Ring. Um, I mean, certainly my game of the year last year, I was playing Elden Ring. I started off sucking at it really, really badly, and by the end, I got the hang of it. I did do a considerable number of hours. But I think Mortborg, the brutality of Elden Ring certainly early, and I need to do a little bit of research into the Bloodborne games as well. But certainly that kind of dark fantasy is what we're going for there. It's going to be one shots and it's going to be fairly brutal as well. So if you like your heroic fantasies, mythical, D&D, absolutely not Morkborg. But if you fancy something a little bit dirty and brutal, then Morkborg, as I say, the punk rock of fantasy role playing. I'm very much looking forward to running that as well. Um, so a ton of stuff to certainly writing. The next thing, the reason why I got Fantasy Grounds up as the background is because of something that I'm doing. It's not a competition, it's just for fun. It's called Dungeon 23, and a chap on Twitter sort of put a post up about how about we create a mega dungeon, do a room a day um, for 2023. That is technically 12 levels, a level a month, and 30 odd rooms per level. And it just sounded a fun way of. It's not like I've got enough writing to do as it is. So I thought I'd give it a go, and I've set it up on Fantasy Grounds here for a reason, because it's a good way for me to sort of track. And I thought it might be interested for those of you who are interested in the structure of games and stuff to see my thought processes of such quite a large project. Obviously, you could just approach it with, well, I'll just kind of make a room up a day, and that will be fine. But um, yeah, I might wing it a bit. I might like my improv, but yeah, I kind of wanted to make it a little bit more substantial with that. So hopefully, when I go to Fancy Grounds, the scene doesn't change. But let me know if the scene doesn't change, because I can't see chat now. Um, oops, where are we going? There we go. You can still see Fancy Grounds, fantastic stuff. Okay, so I mean, quite a challenge, really. I mean, how do you make it sort of come together? And this is how I did it. I did my overview first. I kind of wanted to do something different. Uh, 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 I've run a lot of mega dungeons before. I don't know whether you can actually read the text there, but I'll read it across to you. I've done a lot of mega dungeons, and um, there was an interesting thing that somebody did a video um, about old style sort of Dungeons and Dragons dungeon bashing, and it's a different experience to what people tend to look for. So 12 levels, 12 months. Okay, so I kind of going to do a sort of level a month, but certainly a location. I wanted to make it interesting for me because I didn't want to lose interest in writing. Um, and at the same time, I wasn't sure whether I should do it for Dungeons and Dragons or for another system, but in the end, I very familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, so I kind of thought we'll give it a D&D structure as well. So I came up with a concept. A lot of my uh, influences come from comics, and I was thinking about Arcade, a classic X-Men villain, and also Mojo World as well, if you're familiar with those references. So the concept I came up with, the Ringmaster, I don't know who the Ringmaster is. We will find out, as he's going to be a bad guy. Has created an extra planar complex to entertain alien eyes, which revel I'll put reveal, I think, because my spelling is terrible. The suffering of others. The early levels are a honey trap to drawing adventuring companies. The later levels are challenges to make the characters jump through hoops to interchange the watchers or wactors, these alien eyes. The final few levels will be the Ringmaster's realm. At the end of the mega dungeon, the characters should reach level 20. So I've kind of now split it down a little bit. Then I did sort of my maths really. If you can get through 6 encounters per 3 hour session, that means that approximately 5 sessions will be created per month. Therefore, a total of 60 sessions playtime, 3 hour sessions, that is. So, yeah, if you were to play this once a week, it would take you a year to play. Um, uh, so fairly large just to get a scope of it. Then I kind of thought, well, how do we give experience points out? How do we make this work in a sort of style of play? So we kind of know what threats to sort of throw at the players. So I split the months down into um, experience, well, levels, but also character level of experience. So January, we expect the characters to reach level 3. So the characters go from level 1 to 3, which is experience 0 to 900. And I've entitled this the Fun Fair. February, they go from 4 and 5. Well, they technically would go from 3 to 5 because they don't. They would attain up to 5th level basically, and this is called the Unfun Fair. Obviously, they go to the fun fair, they discover the horrors in February. March, the unfair fun, as things start becoming more difficult and they realize they are trapped, reaching level 7. April, the characters reach level 8 and it's out of the frying pan. May, through the looking glass, reaching level 10. So by May, which is month 5, or I believe, they are halfway through the leveling. Obviously, I kind of figured the process of leveling would slow down the higher levels that they get. June, to level 12, Little House of Horrors. July 13 and 14, Dreams and Nightmares. August, Breaking the Fourth Wall. This is kind of thing that I had, is that they won't necessarily know what's going particularly on if you were running it until sort of August time, where they break free of these rings and hoops that the ringmaster is making them play through. They get to 16th level. Then September, 17th level, the realm of the ringmaster. This is where we come to this quite possibly. It doesn't have to be an alien realm. It could be infernal or abyssal or aberrant or celestial even. Maybe some naughty fallen celestials are behind it. October, level 18, the outer ring. Then November, level 19, the inner ring. And then December, the level 20 and the master's ring, which, yeah, you have to excuse my puns there. So that is how I sort of broke it down, and I've kind of now got a rough idea of where everything is going. And then, as you can sort of see here now, I've split it up. I do like Fancy Grounds. It is my virtual tabletop of choice, and I'm not sponsored by them. Although I certainly wouldn't mind being sponsored by them. I've sort of fleshed it out here, so each month now has got that information written down, and if we press these buttons here, we can see that for each of these I've created a list of rooms and everything else is going on. So for yesterday, which was the very start of it, um, very brief, and rather than planning out kind of a dungeon and rooms and sort of making it very confined with that, I've kind of gone for a more sort of theatre of the mind sort of feel to it. Um, so you approach the amusement park. It's been abandoned for many years, but as you draw closer, you can see dim lights casting deep shadows. As you crawl through the small hole in the fence, your keen senses pick up the faint sound carried by the breeze of children singing nursery rhymes. Um, Obviously, if I was running it, you could easily break that down into they explore the fence. Do they find the small hole? Do they try and climb over the fence? Do they try and go around the front? Perception rolls for hearing anything. Um, so my approach is kind of very nondescript, mainly because I need to post it to Twitter as well, because it was Twitter that suggested this. But there's easy ways of fleshing it out to make it sort of an encounter or challenging. Um, but we've got this to do, and we're doing it live. I mean, we are doing it live, and there we go. Uh, we're done. Uh, Rats Dungeon 23. So what I basically thought was, as they creep through and potentially trying to investigate some of the other concession stands, or moving towards where they can hear this, children singing nursery rhymes, they move past an old concession stand. Uh, uh, Food stall. Um, a classic for level 1, swarm of rats. Attack. Swarm of rats attack. And I'm just going to say can be resolved in a number of ways. Fairly straightforward bullet point, but does the job. A combat encounter. Maybe I would be more than happy if they scared the rats away, used animal handling, through food, whatever. It doesn't necessarily need to be a combat encounter. It's just designed once again to add atmosphere and build up upon this abandoned park. Didn't take me very long to think of that. But who knows what they will stumble across tomorrow, January the 3rd, room 3. What I will probably do is expand this, create the encounters on Fantasy Grounds, and who knows, I might eventually run it. We will see. So that is something else that I am playing around with. I'll post to Discord and Twitter in a minute as well once we've done this. Blimey, we've been chatting for an hour. I've just got a number of other things to sort of quickly go through. And thank you very much for staying with me for this long. Obviously, along with all of that, we are doing some writing as well. It's my turn to post some things now. So first and foremost, very excited about this. We are getting very close. I've written with the very lovely Matt Beams, the riddle of Rotwood Bog. It is a scenario for about 6 level 3 characters. Um, and I don't even know if I've done that right. But it's coming along with some very nice. Just going to copy that. It's okay. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to try and put this into here for you. This is the Kickstarter that is going to start very soon, February, I believe. Um, and yeah, me and Matt have written it. Some people have already play tested it. It went very well. We've expanded it somewhat. It's the very first sort of published product that hopefully will get published if enough people um, sort of purchase it. It's not a standalone thing. It comes with a set of some beautiful miniatures by Dragon's Forge as well. If you click on that old link there, you will be taken through to the Kickstarter page, which you can give it a follow. And it's not live at the moment, but it will tell you about announcements. Um, um, so when it goes live, it will tell you it's live and have a look at it. Um, More importantly, if you're not a GM, if it's not something that you wouldn't buy, don't obviously buy it, but mention it to friends that are GMs. It would mean a huge amount. If it's successful, we might be commissioned to do more. Obviously, it will give me a degree of inspiration to continue to do sort of writing and stuff and start publishing more stuff, as well as the twisted narrative rule set, all sorts of other things for D&D and for generic systems as well. So it's quite a big thing for me in 2023. But as always, live within your means. As you probably can see there's a few socials which I will stick to chat now. So you have the links. We have our Discord. For those of you who are unaware, we have a YouTube channel that I'll be posting this on in a few days' time. We have Twitter, we have Facebook, and we have a Ko-fi link if anybody wishes to purchase me a cup of coffee. That would be very kind of you as well. So I'm going to bang all of those. I don't know whether it's going to take these, but we will see. There we go. All those links are in there as well. We are currently working on a website, so watch out for that. And we're also looking at getting TikTok, and I've spelled talk wrong because I'm very old. I'm sure it's spelt that way. And Instagram, but I can't do that until I get a new phone because the phone I've got is an antique. So yeah, it's going to be a busy week, potentially a busy month, and certainly a busy year if everything keeps moving forward. Before we bring this chat to an end, has anybody got any questions? Anything that you want to ask me? Or are you all bored with me now? Have I spoken enough? I'm going to make myself big again because I want to do that. It's funny. Plus I'm learning. Oops, still can't do it. I'm hovering like a ghost. No questions, but you've enjoyed it. Thanks, Jack. I really appreciate it. So next week we'll talk about anything that we've managed to achieve this week. We'll talk about the games that are coming up, obviously next week. Obviously, if you are on our Discord or on our Twitter, you'll be able to see the Dungeon 23 established. But if you don't, you'll be able to catch up with it. I'll go through it next week, all of the things that I've done for Dungeon 23. next week's stream. I will have to be doing it sort of Monday daytime. So if you are at work and you can't watch live, totally understand. But don't forget, jump on, have a watch of it. It'll keep you updated. You can message me on any of the socials that I've done if there's anything that you would like to see. And one other thing that we are thinking about is we learnt an awful lot through streaming the Untold Chronicles. So the the products that we publish, for instance, the Riddle of Rotwood Bog, we will be looking to do a live stream game of those as a form of advertising and showing people what it's like. So, um, coming down the line, as it were, as things become published, we might well be doing some live streams as well, actual plays, which I'm very much looking forward to. So, without further ado, massive love to you all. Thanks for the continued support and support all the way through 2022 as well. I hope you had a magnificent holiday and New Year, and I hope to see you in games over the next week. If not this week, next week. Any questions, you know where to get hold of me. In the meantime, stay safe, everybody. Take care. Big love. See you later.